Folks, we are almost there. Getting very, very close to 65,000 subscribers here on Seahawks Today. Less than 100 away from reaching that next milestone. We've been all over free agency, and now we're going to be talking more draft content than ever before, including today here on the channel. We're bringing you daily news and rumors, sometimes 2 and 3 videos a day, live shows each and every Monday and Wednesday, breaking news, Q&A mailbags, and more. And the best part about it, doesn't cost you a thing. Subscribe now for free. Help us reach 65,000 subscribers. You'll be glad you did. YouTube.com/Seahawks TV. We'll get started with today's show. Welcome in to Seahawks Today. Tyler Jones here. Appreciate you all stopping by as we're going to break down the latest mock draft from ESPN's Matt Miller. It is a full 7-round mock draft of all 32 teams with every pick, no trades. And what we're going to do is we're going to show you the Seahawks picks and what Matt Miller had to say about several of them, react and share our thoughts here on today's show. So let's go ahead and get started with Matthew Golden, the wide receiver from the University of Texas with the 18th overall pick, according to Miller. And this is what Miller had to say about why he has Golden going to Seattle in the first round. Seattle's offense will look very different in 2025 with Sam Darnold taking over for Geno Smith at quarterback and Cooper Kupp replacing DK Metcalf at receiver. But the Seahawks still need more help at receiver. They also released Tyler Lockett and on the interior of the offensive line. We'll have the Seahawks fill with Golden, a big play outside receiver who can complement Kupp and Jackson Smith-Njigba. Golden was a deep threat for Texas with an FBS best 23 receptions for more than 20 yards. He also ran a blazing 4.2940 at the combine, the best of any offensive player. He is a polished route runner with sure hands, plus level production, and top athletic tools. All of that sounds good, but this is a reach, my friends. Everybody that's talking about Matthew Golden has him at either the end of the first round or in the second round. And with Seattle having a big need on the offensive line, I don't feel great about reaching for a receiver. I wouldn't be opposed at all to using a second-round pick on Matthew Golden, but first round at 18, that seems to be a bit too far. I'm not thrilled about that potential pick for Seattle at 18. If they were to take him there, I would be saying to myself, couldn't you have done that later on? So not a great start to this mock draft. Got plenty more picks to get to in a moment. Let's ask you guys, should the Seahawks draft Matthew Golden in round 1? It's our pinned comment today. You might get an ad break while the ad's playing. Get your votes in. Type S for select, P for pass. Weigh in the comment section and let us know. Up next at 50, Matt Miller has Seattle taking Tate Ratledge, the offensive guard from the University of Georgia. He's the guy that's been talked about a lot, has been linked to the Seahawks quite a bit as well. Miller said this: "We got the Seahawks a receiver in round 1. Now it's time to help a problematic offensive line. Ratledge fought through injury in 2024, but still put together a top 50-worthy season of tape. A starting right guard, Ratledge has prototypical size, 6'6", 308 pounds, and showed the agility and explosive short area quickness at the combine that are needed to excel in NFL run-blocking schemes. Ratledge started 3 seasons at Georgia and should be able to jump into the Seahawks starting lineup right away." I love the pick of Tate Ratledge here. I would have liked to have taken an offensive guard or an offensive tackle, offensive lineman basically, in the first round. But the fact that we're getting Ratledge here, it makes me feel a little bit better that you get him here with this number 50 pick. But that's not the only offensive lineman that the Seahawks are going to take, according to Matt Miller, and not the only offensive lineman they'll take from Georgia, as Miller's projecting the Hawks to take Ratledge's teammate, Jared Wilson, the center from Georgia as well, at 52 overall. Here's what he had to say: "We aren't done fixing the interior of the Seattle line, and we're giving the Seahawks another Georgia player too. At 6'3", 310 pounds, Wilson is a fantastic mover with 4.84 speed in the 40 and a 4.56 short shuttle time. He is raw but versatile given his quickness and agility, which make him ideal for an outside zone scheme. Some teams prefer Wilson at guard, but we expect him to continue to add the play strength necessary to better handle nose tackles and defenders over center. The positional flexibility is key. Seattle obviously has a need at both guard spots right now, and whether Wilson plays center or plays guard, maybe Olu potentially moves to the guard spot. I can work with that. I can find a spot for Jared Wilson. I think that's huge for him to have that possibility to play either position, and then you just figure out your best 5 offensive linemen to put out there and make it work as far as that goes. At 82, we find Josaiah Stewart, the edge rusher from Michigan, as the next selection for Seattle, their first pick on the defensive side of the ball. Miller said this on the pick of Stewart here. Coaches have told me that Stewart was the toughest player on Michigan's 2023 national championship team. He's a highly productive edge rusher, 30 career sacks with immediate rush ability, and fills a need for Seattle. This is an impact player. And I was talking to a buddy of mine about this the other day, that when we look at these college prospects at the edge rusher position, we typically don't see crazy numbers because of all sorts of variable factors at the collegiate level. But the fact that he's got those raw statistics of 30 career sacks, that's a guy that can come in and help out this Seahawks team immediately, which needs more help when it comes to those pass rush options. I think there's good value with him there, taking him at 82. Then at 92, Miller is projecting that Seattle goes with another offensive lineman. This time it is offensive tackle from Boston College, Ozzy Trapilo, with the selection. Miller had this to say on his pick. Spending 3 picks on the offensive line in the first 2 days might seem excessive, but Seattle has to finally invest up front. Trapilo will replace often injured Abraham Lucas at right tackle. Now, I don't know if he necessarily replaces Abraham Lucas when, and that's a big win, Abraham Lucas has been healthy. He's been a solid offensive tackle, but I do like having some options there in 3 offensive linemen. If I'm not going to spend a first-round pick on an offensive lineman, at least I'm getting 3 within the top 100. That you could potentially work with and be in a good spot. So far, not a bad draft to this point for Matt Miller with his selections here. Who's a player the Seahawks should draft? You are on the clock. Weigh in the comments section. Let us know who comes to mind that you would like to see in Seattle in 2025. Give me a name in the comments section below. Cooper Kupp jerseys are on sale now with free shipping available at chatsports.com/cup. And we're so excited to have Cooper Kupp here in Seattle these days. These jerseys are going hot, folks. You need to jump on these at chatsports.com/cup. Free shipping available. We also have other Seahawks merchandise for your liking as well, including Sam Darnold jerseys. Those also have free shipping as well. Get yours today, chatsports.com/cup. The link is in the comments and description of today's video. That's chatsports.com/cup to get yours now. Let's go to 137 now, and we find another defensive player. This time it's Jamaree Caldwell, the defensive tackle from Oregon. And what I see from Caldwell is a space-eating nose tackle, which is music to my ears for that position. He is going to take up a lot of room on that defensive line, and this Seahawks defensive line could use some depth. You have some good pieces with your starters with Jaron Reed and Byron Murphy and Leonard Williams, but you don't have a whole lot behind them. I like Caldwell as a potential option to add some depth to that position. We're going to stay with the Oregon Ducks at 172 as Seattle drafts a quarterback. Haven't seen Seattle draft too many quarterbacks over the years, but this time they go Dillon Gabriel out of Oregon at 172. I like Dillon Gabriel. He's a gamer. I think there's some nice value here going with Dillon Gabriel this late in the draft. He has stepped up in some big moments. He's an incredible leader. He's very accurate. He's a good athlete. And I'll say this. I don't know if he's ever going to be a long-term starter in this league, but he can be a long-term backup. And if he's the guy that I have sitting behind Sam Darnold for several years and get his spot start opportunities and excel on that front, I would gladly take that. I think we'd be very pleased if that ends up being the outcome for Dillon Gabriel there. I think that's a good pick there. Then we go to 175, and a very familiar spot for Seattle. Remember a few years ago when they drafted Reek Woolen out of UTSA on day 3 at the corner spot, and Reek had a Pro Bowl campaign, and he's been good for Seattle ever since. Well, now they go the same route, going Zah Frazier, corner from UTSA, at 175. And this sounds familiar to Reek as well. Long limbs and explosive speed. That sounds very enticing. I like this idea potentially of going with him there and adding him to the rotation, a position that could use some more depth there at the corner spot. We finally get a tight end at 223. This is where we find Jalen Conyers, the tight end from Texas Tech. And with Conyers, he's more of an H-back, H-block type player that we would see for Seattle here. This is somebody that you're going to use him as a fullback, the H-back spot, primarily as a blocker is what we would see Conyers in that role. And that fits what Clint Kubiak is looking for. He would like to add a fullback to give him more options there on that front. So that fills another need. The final pick of the draft is Nick Martin, linebacker from Oklahoma State. I'm a big fan of Nick Martin. I like this pick here. They're looking for potential options in the linebacker room to add some pieces behind Ernest Jones and Tyree Snipe. And Nick Martin, I love hearing this about a linebacker especially. He is a violent tackler. All right? That's good to hear. I'll take that from Nick Martin. If they need him, he will be ready if that time comes. So those are all the picks according to Matt Miller for this Seahawks mock draft. How would you grade Matt Miller's mock draft? I'll give you my grade in a moment, but I want to hear from you guys first. A, B, C, D, or F, way in the comments section and let us know. I don't hate this draft. I would not have taken Matthew Golden with my first-round pick. I would have preferred to go offensive line, but he did a pretty decent job of making up for it, going with 3 offensive linemen in the top 100. I think this draft earns a fair grade of a B+. It's a solid draft, not a great draft. Could be better, room for improvement, but one I could live with. If this is what Seattle ended up doing, I think that we would be sitting here saying, hey, it worked out okay. Wasn't as good as it could have been, but could have been a whole lot worse too. The other picks, according to Matt Miller, across the National Football League, let's go over those for you real quick. Tennessee goes Cam Ward at number 1 overall, while the Browns go Abdul Carter, edge rusher for Penn State at 2. Shedeur Sanders goes to the Giants, which makes that QB room pretty interesting with Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston there. Then at 4, Travis Hunter goes to the New England Patriots, the wide receiver / corner there in New England. At 5, Mason Graham, defensive tackle from Michigan, goes to the Jags. T-Mac, one of my favorite receivers in this draft, the Arizona receiver, he goes to the Raiders at 6. Armand Mimbo, if you've been following this show for our draft coverage, we've talked a lot about him. This is the highest I've ever seen him on a draft board. He goes 7 to the Jets. At 8, we find Jalen Walker, the edge / linebacker from Georgia, goes to Carolina. 9, Barron, the corner from Texas, goes to the Saints. And Ashton Jeanty, a guy that here in the Pacific Northwest we know all about. Fantastic career at Boise State, over 2,000 yards last year. He goes to the Bears at 10. Will Johnson goes to the Niners, the corner from Michigan, who won a national championship a season ago at 11. Tyler Warren, I love Tyler Warren. I would love to see him slip to Seattle. That doesn't appear to be the case in this mock. He goes to the Cowboys at 12. Then at 13, we see Will Campbell, the offensive guard / tackle from LSU, goes to the Dolphins. 14, the Colts, they go tight end from Michigan, Colston Loveland, there at 14. 15, the Falcons go Jahad Campbell, the linebacker from Alabama. Mike Green, who has seen his stock rise quite a bit, the edge rusher from Marshall, he goes to the Cardinals at 16. Nick Emanwari, a lot of Seahawks fans would like him. Well, he ends up jumping off the board just before Seattle picks 17 to the Bengals there. 18, we talked about it, Matthew Golden to the Seahawks there. 19, Malachi Starks, the safety from Georgia, goes to the Bucks. Luther Burden, wide receiver from Mizzou. Some people think he's not going to be a first-round pick. He goes to the Broncos at 20. And then Thomas, the corner from Florida State, goes to the Steelers at 21. At 22, the Chargers go running back with Hampton from North Carolina. Kelvin Banks slips all the way to 23. I would have liked to take him at 18. He goes to the Packers instead. 24, Harrison, the corner from Kentucky, goes to Minnesota. Josh Simmons, offensive tackle from Ohio State, goes to the Texans at 25. And then the final few picks for you here. The Rams, they get their quarterback of the future in Jackson Dart as he ends up getting picked there at 26 to eventually replace Matthew Stafford. Derek Harmon goes to the Baltimore Ravens, the defensive tackle from Oregon at 27. Gray Zabel, a lot of Hawk fans have talked about him. He goes to the Lions at 28. Shamar Stewart, another guy we've talked about here on this channel, edge rusher from Texas A&M. He goes to the Commanders at 29. And then your final three picks of this mock draft that we will bring you here from ESPN's Matt Miller include Trey Amos, the corner from Mississippi, goes to the Bills. Mikael Williams, edge rusher from the Georgia Bulldogs, goes to the Chiefs at 31. And then Donovan E., the edge rusher from Boston College, goes to the Eagles there at 32. For more draft coverage, subscribe now to Seattle Seahawks Today. I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.